Yes, everybody, welcome back to the podcast. Today I have my friend, my coach, best coach in the UK, in my opinion,
Hey.
Opio Okwe. Thank you for coming on. Thank you for coming on.
No, thanks for having me, man. Thanks for having me, man. See what you're doing your stuff now, getting the bodybuilding and media out there. So I think especially the industry that we're in now, I think everyone, it's quite interesting to hear other people's thoughts, opinions, what they've been through and experiences and stuff, etc. On the bodybuilding realm. And ultimately, if you're in this realm, it's good to have, an idea in terms of, what other people have studied and that, kind of you can kind of conclude bodybuilding for yourself. But I like it. It's an opinionated sport.
Yeah,
And end of the day, it's come down to if you're a competitive bodybuilder, is who's the best, and
yeah,
that's
yeah,
that's
yeah.
it. That is
This
literally it.
is this is the thing. Like me and you talk about bodybuilding in so many different capacities at so many different lengths whenever we're together, whatever over the phone, DMs or whatever. Yeah.
Yeah,
And I said this on the last podcast with Alex. For you guys who may not have seen it, jump over there, see episode 1. Um, I for a long time was like, I love watching podcasts, but I myself didn't want to necessarily dive into because it's an oversaturated market. Let's just be honest. Yeah,
absolutely,
there's
absolutely,
so many people doing it. Yeah, let's just be real.
absolutely.
But I figured to myself, like I said, I watch podcasts because of who's on it.
Mm,
Like, don't get me wrong, I took the time to spend time on the name and the editing and the design and that. Obviously, there's not much editing with this, but making sure I bought a nice mic and a good camera and rah 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 rah. Rah. But like ultimately, people come here because they want to see who they care about who's on it.
yeah, again, that individual experiences and stuff, and to learn something from them if they can, and just
Yeah,
basically get an idea in terms of how everyone operates it, because you're not really going to get that. No one really. I mean, some people do kind of have that a little bit more um vocal and more their thoughts on their stories and their reels and stuff, so you can kind
yeah,
of get a
yeah,
little bit more about that individual.
yeah,
Whereas me, I'm a little bit old school where, I'll come in for a bit, I'll say something, which to be fair, I do need to pump out a little bit more. But that is
right,
it's a great opportunity for everyone to have an idea of that individual on podcasts, and, kind of see where their knowledge is at, and, kind of put yourself to see if, you've experienced similar things that they have as well. So, I mean, I think it's a wicked thing you're doing. And if you're into bodybuilding, yes, it is a saturation in terms of podcast, but then ultimately it's, as you said, it's what guests you have on, and what can you learn from them.
yeah,
Definitely.
yeah, 100%. And I think having someone on, like you on, obviously it's different. I have you on here, obviously because you have so much to teach people, but obviously we're boys as well. But
Yeah.
like sometimes, like Alex, he's just transitioned from natural to enhanced.
Yeah.
He for me personally, he's the first person that I've known since bodybuilding to do that live, like
Yes.
while I've witnessed both sides.
Sure.
It's it's just as informative to the other guys out there who may want to do that as it
Of
is to
course.
me. Like I'm sitting there listening to him and asking him questions because I want to know. And
Yes. Of course.
hopefully my questions embody what everyone else wants to know. Because
Yes.
I just want to know what I want to know because I want to know it. And then
Of course.
I just happen to be on camera. Like,
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Of course.
So
Of
you know
course.
what I mean? Yeah,
It makes
so
sense. I mean,
so
I completely understand, man. It makes sense.
yeah. So anyway, let's get this kicked off then. So similar to the my last podcast, let's start with some bodybuilding stuff. Introduce yourself. I'm almost certain that most people already know who you are. Introduce yourself like they don't. Tell them what you're about as an athlete, as a coach, so on and so forth.
Yes, so absolutely. Again, just want to say thanks for having me on the show.
No problem.
In case for anyone who don't know who I am, my name is Opio. I am a certified personal trainer and an online coach. In terms of what I do specifically, a big a group of my guys the online is natural bodybuilding competitors. I also do help, you don't have to be a bodybuilder. I also do help clients, get fitter, get healthier, all that good stuff. I am a pro as well in natural bodybuilding from the BMBF via the DFAC. And yeah, I mean, that's pretty much what I do. I mean, formally, I have been coaching clients for around about 7 years. So I've been doing this for a while, and As I said, if you don't know about me, I have got Instagram. You can check me out on there. Just kind of get an idea in terms of what I do, any sort of questions and stuff. Yeah, just let me know. But yeah, that's pretty much it in a nutshell.
Yeah, so for the guys who don't know Opio or his work so far, I recommend you head over to his Instagram. I'm gonna put all his social details in the description. But he's, in my opinion, non-biased. At the end of the day, like his work speaks for himself. I don't have to hype him up. I don't have to hype up his work. If you go and see what he's accomplishing with the standard of athletes that he's accomplishing those things with, you'll see that he's a top coach. And for me, he's the best coach in the UK in natural bodybuilding. I'm not well versed enough to say in the world, but I wouldn't doubt that he's up there, to be real.
Oh wow, oh, very kind, man. Jeez, that's
Yeah,
so much to
listen,
learn.
me and your boys, and we'll always be boys. If I stopped winning, and if I no, that's not true, because winning is in bodybuilding is not to my control. But if I stopped looking as good as you've had me look in the past, and I'm doing everything you say, I might not be your client anymore. We'll still be boys, but I might not be your client. So I just want people to know, like, I'm your client because you're the best, and I want the best results, and we're friends after. Like
Yeah, no, of course.
you know me. There's
Yeah, no,
business,
of course.
business.
Hey, listen,
Like
you guys work hard. That you guys work hard, and
yeah.
that's it shows. When you guys train hard and you guys adhere to, there's always a different, yeah, there's always a different look and a different sort of quality
Mm-hmm.
towards the end of the process as well. But again, there's so many things which can interfere as well, and if you dive into a little bit more, my coaching techniques and stuff, I essentially try to eradicate all of that stuff, and for me, I'm constantly always learning, and I try to cover all the variables which I believe that would help me get a client from A to B, and not necessarily look to see what's out there. Honestly, my experience and my learning is the biofeedback from you guys and understanding what you guys have gone through for that particular day, for that particular week, and stuff, etc. And then again, just kind of having a universal kind of feedback towards, week one in prep towards the back end of prep is
Yeah.
very similar in terms of the responses that you get from clients, and taking that on board and understanding it's so important for decision making as well. I believe, which then helps me to kind of anticipate, right? And anticipate when these guys are going to feel like this and what to do, how to do it. If they're not lean by a certain timeline, what do I need to do? Have I got programs and stuff set up in terms of a reverse engineering perspective, which I have all that stuff. And the more clients you manage, you can say essentially the harder it is to keep an eye on who is on track. Hence why I've got so much on my sheets, which I am able to keep a timestamp on, so clients know where to be, where at certain time scales leading forward as well. But yeah, a bit of a long one, but as I said, you guys ultimately work hard, and the rest of the thinking and the decision making is down to the coaches essentially, isn't it? So
Yeah, exactly. And as you say it's a bit of a long one, but it's a complicated business. And I think there are so many people, they do one bodybuilding show, it doesn't matter where they place, they're suddenly an online coach. I think again, I'm not deterring anyone from doing what it is you believe in. Again, I'm sitting in my house right now doing a podcast because I want to do it. But
sure,
at the end of the day, there's a level, I think there's a standard that you need to bring to whatever craft it is you're discussing. There's a level of commitment to bettering yourself within that craft. And I think there are too many people who don't know their own bodies.
yeah,
But then you're so quick to want to, again, it might be in a good place. It might not all be malicious. I'm a pessimist. I just always feel
yeah,
like if you're not equipped to do something, don't do it. Like
yeah.
it's a complicated thing. I coach, but I coach very sporadically, and I only coach Gen Pop. I don't
Yeah,
coach guys on stage because I don't feel like when I'm sitting there going to Opio, I want to do these things. I want to win my pro debut next to the best professional DFAC pros that I've ever seen. That's what I want to do. Okay, Gene, this is what you have to do. He can tell me what I have to do, when I have to do it, and how it has to be done. I cannot, it's never a promise. Things happen, life
yeah,
happens,
yeah, sure.
but I cannot promise a level of service to a newcomer to say you're going to maximize everything about your potential at this
Sure,
point in your journey
sure,
to then stand on stage.
sure.
I'm not equipped with the knowledge to do that yet, or the experience to do that yet. So
Mhm.
I'm not comfortable doing it.
Mm-hmm.
Now, there are too many people well under equipped. You don't have to be the best to start, but you're well under equipped. You don't even know the foundation of what a good prep is about, yet
Mm-hmm.
you're trying to
Mm-hmm.
basically manage people's expectations and their entire psyche. Like,
Yeah, yeah,
that
yeah,
leads
yeah,
me on to a question for you
yeah.
because you're big on this. And like you said, biofeedback, and you are also heavily involved in our mental state as athletes.
Mm-hmm.
Because obviously you're my coach, I know that. What is it when you approach a new client and you're assessing, you're like, right, is this person, male, female, doesn't matter, is this person going to be able to hack it long term? What characteristics are they showing me in their personality that
Mm-hmm.
make that lead me to believe one thing or another? Like, what
Yeah.
is it mentally that you see as trigger points to say he or she is not going to be quite cut out for pushing to the end?
Yeah, to be that's a very good question because I actually do it in my consult, right? So when I have consultation, um, everyone's oh yeah, they want to compete, they want to do this, you want to do that. That's great. Remember, this is the first time I've seen you. We've been on a call for 15, 20 minutes, and I have no idea who you are, but you're telling me all these great things. You're saying all these things what essentially a coach would want to hear to obviously help the client get from A to B, right? The potential client get from A to B. So I do ask golden questions. There's a nugget in there. So I will typically ask, what are they have they done any sort of sports before?
Yeah.
And if they haven't, I really sought to try and dig and try to find out, I suppose, to what's going to get them to still essentially be hitting those variables when it gets hard, because there's no such thing as an easy prep. I'm not going to sit here and say prep is easy, especially clients come into me and say, right, I want shredded glutes. That's high level of what you need to do and to dig, right? So I know, so I need to find these characteristics, as you like, to find out, or previous, I suppose, why these clients want to do these things. And 9 or 10 times, most of them come from a competitive sport background. um and that's generally how they tend to and so I tend to find out, okay, maybe they will have, what it takes to, get from A to B as well.
Yeah.
Another one is someone who is just competitive by nature. Especially if they love the gym, they're going to the gym, they make really good progression. If the first part of why you want to prep is your local gym will tell you, oh hey bro, you should compete, or
Yeah, yeah,
hey,
yeah,
do you know
yeah.
what, you look really good, I think you should compete with all the other girls and stuff. And that's essentially what would make someone, oh, maybe I should approach a coach and see what happens as well. Because again, if they haven't, as you said, if it's a newcomer, they haven't experienced that, I have to ask these questions as opposed to why. Generally, I would have people who are more interested in it, people who have had experiences with competitive background in sport, or sport in nature. And again, sport in nature could be anything with a competitive household with brothers and sisters, competitive at work, and you can normally kind of tell if they're in a sales environment at work, they're very competitive and always want to win, and especially when they go to the gym, because it's all synced. It's
Yeah,
all
yeah, yeah,
unified in
yeah,
here
yeah.
as well. So if you can essentially shift that, again, yes, people with more of a passion for it will find it, I wouldn't say find it easier, but they wouldn't have that battle, are supposed to kind of look for nearly every obstacle, are supposed to why they should pull the plug when it's getting tough.
Yeah,
They
yeah,
kind
yeah,
of tell themselves, okay, this is what needs to happen. Like, I'm gonna
yeah.
just ride it. And someone like me, um, I would tend to say, like, what, like, no problem. Like, bring, like, for me, it's like, I'm just shut up and just crack on with it. But again, not everyone's set like that. But
No,
typically, ask them, the golden question are supposed to, why they want to do it, and I'll try to find out any sort of sporting background and stuff, etc. And typically, that when there is, there's a more likelihood that they will execute the job.
this is interesting because when you and I first met in a coaching capacity, I looked at online coaching. I was like, right, so he's gonna give me a diet plan. He's gonna give me pointers on how to execute meal timings, meal prep, training. Although you did give me a training layout as well. You asked me obviously how I currently train, what do I currently eat, blah 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 blah. Told you all of that. You took it in and gave me back something that wasn't too different. Um, Now one thing that I always underestimated until you and I became really close friends and you started giving me a little bit more insight into how you did things was how much attention to detail it takes to be a proficient coach. So you've spoken about the mental side. I still feel as though even just the fundamentals of nutrition, what to eat, what happens if you have a client who's diabetic, what happens if you have somebody like me. I am asthmatic. I'm obviously not heavily asthmatic and I'm very fit, so it doesn't really affect me. But hypothetically, what would you do if someone is got cardiovascular issues that stop them from doing high intensity cardio towards the end of a prep versus somebody who can just bang it out and they're fit as ever and they barely even sweat when they train? Like, there's a difference. So for example, I'm not going to name names because client confidentiality, but if you had a client hypothetically on a peak week, who let's say we bulk up on potatoes or rice or whatever, and this other person can't eat those foods for whatever reason, they can't eat those foods, it gives them gastrointestinal distress, they can't eat it. First of all, where is it you would look for the knowledge to say, right, what's a viable alternative that's going to yield similar effects? And second of all, how important do you think that is when considering a client? Like, when they tell you, I've got this health issue, what is it? Does that I don't want to answer the question for you. Does that ring alarm bells in your head?
No, of course. Okay, so I mean, it's a very good question you asked. Okay, so now we're getting into the depth in terms of it's essentially testing my knowledge in terms of nutrition rather than doing kind of one kind of fix all. I suppose to look at alternative and to still able to pick a client to that as well. As I said, it's like it takes years, right? It takes years into understanding the different types of nutrition because I am big on nutrition, and sometimes I get people, oh my gosh, I have like X amount of this and because I understand the reason why I do something. By the time you open your eye, I suppose the how the day is set, which I would advise that would help you get from A to B because my processes in terms of what I have tend to kind of be pretty strong. And again, I'm constantly learning and trying to essentially see if there's anything which is a bit of a random error or random data collection. I always try and learn. And then again, the more I do a process, the more I understand it and the more I understand the reason why as well. So I think it's a very good question. So in terms of the foods and the peaking and stuff, firstly, I do a questionnaire, and the questionnaire will eradicate in terms of any sort of major health issues, obviously disclosing like, diabetic, diabetes 1 and 2, find out what they're like, have they had any sort of blood works done, looking at deficiencies and stuff, etc. So then I have a very good understanding and a very good idea of what this person's like. It's quite interesting. So I had a chat with a consult with someone this week, and they said, like, there are they're quite sensitive to carbohydrates. So I just, while he was speaking, I just kind of interrupted him and said, like, what made you think that? But they think based on how they feel. But again, until you really get that done and checked out, you're really going to know. And then for me, I'm a person, if someone is like 200 kilos of 200 kilos body weight and not necessarily not healthy in a fit way, not a power lifter, but just I will not take the client. I will tell the client that they essentially need to go to the NHS, right? So they will need to understand in terms of what it is, what relation that they have, and then again they will need to work with the NHS from that front movie. But that's honest, that's how I am as a person. I don't just take on anyone. So again, a consultation call is very important for me from that perspective, and ultimately the questionnaire helps protect me and the client, and then understanding these health issues. So that's one main thing in terms of designing the nutrition. Now with the nutrition, there are alternatives. I have to find alternatives, right? For if a client don't like this, what can you put instead? If a client can't get on with that, what then you put instead? If a client is allergic to this, then what you put instead? And all of that is, again, just looking into nutrition, seeing what bodies of the macro breakdown, nutritional breakdown, even a micronutrition breakdown for a specific food group as well. And there are alternatives there as well that we can look at. So I did have a client who essentially would look at the peak and was like, I can't do And so we're talking about the carb up phase, right?
Mhm.
I like to carb the clients up based on what they've been eating throughout preparation. Okay, that's a very safe way. So if you're used to eating whole foods, why are you chucking in bagels? Why are you chucking in cereal bars? Why are you chucking in donuts? Why are you chucking in a burger? Again, this is natural bodybuilding,
Mhm.
right? You want to have consistent result. So that's my question: is why you have all of that stuff, okay? And then the second thing is, as I said, understanding the bodies of different food groups as opposed to what alternatives that there as well. And that's how I'm able to get a client to have, okay, right, this instead, if they can't have this. But of course, there would be a preferred food source
Mhm.
that I would like them to have. But if they're physically, as you said, like, digestive issues, they're having a bad reaction towards it and stuff, etc. Again, that one should be eradicate from the questionnaire, but then ultimately that there are options in terms of food. And yes, it is very important. And I will not just get a carb source for the sake of it. Yes, I'll get a carbohydrate source, but one which is very similar in terms of accuracy with the components of nutrition.
Yeah, 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 yeah. Okay, so this is the thing. Like when I imagine coaching, when I imagine me coaching, let's say specifically, yeah. But I'm really talking about the guys who are underprepared to actually coach.
Yeah.
There's a reason that the same names tend to ring around the natural bodybuilding circuit because they're the ones who know what they're talking about.
Mm-hmm.
And the guys who are up and coming and that kind of stuff. I can only imagine that if I've coached 15 people, one
Yeah.
after the other, all for competition prep. They all come to me. Do you have any health conditions? Nope. Do you have any ailments, physical ailments that would stop you from doing any specific movements like deadlifts, any hip hinges of any kind? Because back problems are so common.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, you know what I mean? So, or with me, bad knee. It doesn't really affect me. I can squat and all that kind of stuff. So I'm good. It's more just agility movements. But yeah. Now, I can only imagine someone coming to me after my 16th client coming to me saying, "Oh yeah, I have diabetes and a bad back."
Mm-hmm.
I can only imagine an inexperienced guy either saying, "Yes, I'll take you on," and being well out of their depth, well out of their depth, or they are scared. What I would do, just to err on the side of caution, is say, "Sorry, I know that there are coaches out there that can provide what you need, but
Mm-hmm.
I'm not that guy."
Mm-hmm.
And I would be very confident saying that because my ego is a lot smaller than my concern for their
No,
health.
and I think that's the ethical way how to do it.
Yeah.
I have
Yeah.
worked with type 1 and type 2
Mm-hmm.
diabetic clients.
Mm-hmm.
Um, And then again, I think once the longer you do coaching and the more you educate yourself, the more you find out different strategies in terms of how you can help that individual, because the individual 9 out of 10 times, 10 out of 10 times have been training and does eat food, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So it's
Yeah.
a
Yeah.
matter of working out their metabolic rate, seeing where they are. Are they using a patch to check
Mm-hmm.
their levels? Are they, what are they doing? Are they checking their blood sugar levels in the mornings and stuff, etc., after the last meal, seeing how they're going, just to keep everything nice and consistent. And this is where nutrition comes in very, very importantly, because people will say that you can choose any carbs is carb. If you're looking at it like from that, yes, but again, you've got low GI carbs and you've got high GI carbs,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So again, anything that sort of affects your blood level up and down, up and down, up and down, is probably, actually not to say probably, it's not the best for your health
No.
regardless. So
No.
again, you want to try and keep your blood, and again, this is bodybuilding, right? And I don't get where people want to build a physique, but you have to build a physique by training hard, and to
Mm-hmm.
train hard you need to fuel the training.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And everyone just want to be scared of carbohydrates, but it's like you want to deadlift 5 plates, 6 plates for reps.
Yeah. Yeah.
But you're saying, and again, we're talking about the people who are, again, who don't have any sort of diabetic issues or any sort of kind of sensitive or
Mm-hmm.
whatever. There's no illness as well. And it's just like, oh yeah, but carbs make me fat. And it's just like, but how are you going to fuel your training just on chicken and broccoli? Remember, the preferred source of fuel is carbohydrates. And
Yeah.
again, might people can listen to it. Oh no, you can go in a ketosis state and do this and have long energy and blah 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 blah. But you get a muscle pump on carbohydrates, the
Yeah.
glycogen into the muscle, right?
Yeah.
So then when you look at it from a very simple scientific perspective, it makes sense. And it's like you want to deadlift 6 plates, but you only want to eat rabbit food. You don't see rabbit food. You don't see rabbits. They're not the strongest in
No.
you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it's just kind of like, okay, cool. When you look at a gorilla, they eat they eat a lot of plants. They eat like bamboos. They send me this bananas and stuff. Obviously, if
Yeah.
they're being in a zoo and stuff, etc. They're eating their food. They're eating the carbohydrate. They're grazing. They're getting
Constantly.
carbohydrates constant.
Yeah.
And it's like, what? How are you going to do that? And that's again another question where some people will, and there's people who don't understand the simple basics of carbohydrate intake and fuel, what to train and to perform heavy, right? And again, that's how you're going to create stimulus. That's how you're going to build muscle. Like you need to eat, like forget all this. Oh, I need to eat 350 grams protein a day to grow. It's just like protein to LBS. We need to rest and recover, replenish our muscles to get stronger, to get bigger. But or do you feel your muscles and how you perform? Not chicken and broccoli. There's no way you're going to be doing that.
No.
So, and again, you will get those people who don't really understand that, quite basic, very basic, but then they're quick to look at, natural bodybuilders out there lifting 6 plates, 300 kilos, bench pressing 4 plates aside for 12, 15 reps, barbell back squatting or squatting, 200, 220 for reps. Then they'll look at the physique in the end and they'll say, oh, they're not natural. Absolutely not. Ha, this guy think he's natural. But the thing is, 10 out of 10 times, and I'll confidently say this, 10 out of 10 times, those guys are pumping the food, carbohydrates, they're training hard to then be able to put themselves on that. They're not eating rabbit food and doing that weight. Now, I'm saying it can't happen, but when you look at trends, and obviously what I do in my job, I have to look at trends, and the trends is getting the feedback from the client. So I know my clients who train hard, who lift heavy, and it's the ones who are not afraid of carbohydrates. I got my ladies on high carbs, essentially, prepping on like, 500-gram carbs. And they're monstrously keeping up performances whilst getting leaner coming into show. And it's like, cool, 3,000 calories, 3 weeks out, let's bump it up to 3,200. Let's get the carbs back up. And it's a kind of a crazy thing to think. But again, that's a different conversation or podcast on, the contest prep, journey.
Yeah.
But when you look at it from that front, man, it's like, the food and the carbs are king. So I would take the client, I would speak to the client, I would probably ask a little bit more questions, going back to the diabetic one, get an idea what food they're eating, and they're going to have carbs in there. They think, okay, shit, like, you got like 350 grams carbs, like they're just pretty decent. And so long as they get that metabolic rate, you do what needs to be done. They've got their reading if they're type 2 or if they need to have one, and then you have that understanding in terms of, get the biofeedback on how they're feeling or hungry or any kind of spikes, and it's very normal. And you get to understand the individual, and they can still make progression, Again, it really depends on the level of severity of it. But again, these guys come from training. They've done diets, they've done bulks, they haven't been, sort of passed out in the gym or anything like that. So again, you can still help them. And again, my knowledge is based on me helping those clients and having that data and understanding that trend as well. But I will take it on, but it really depends on the level of severity of it. If they've never trained before and they're quite severe with it, absolutely. Like, you need to
pass on that. Right. Let's move on to you as an athlete, because you as a coach, like, you live that all day, every day. Obviously, you live as an athlete because you got to eat the meals, you train and that. But I feel like there's so much fun involved, at least in the training. For most of us, I know that you suffer with some pretty heavy long-term injuries and stuff.
Yeah.
What's your training like at the moment? Well, obviously, we haven't trained together in a minute. Be busy with work and everything else. Me and you know what we got on in our lives.
We ain't
gonna explain that, but yeah, we ain't trained together in a minute. What's your training in that like at the moment?
So competed in start of October last year. Injuries were just too much. I basically crawled past the line for the show date. I took time off the gym. I took time off training, bodybuilding. I took time off pumping 6-7 meals a day, training hard. I took time off that. Started back in January. So yeah, just gone back to my splits in January. So it's actually pretty good. So one of the main focus was to redevelop my legs because I feel say that they've lost size, and everyone goes, "Oh my gosh, you haven't lost size in the legs." But when I wear my trousers, I know it's still a little bit baggy.
Right.
But now obviously I can hit them twice a week now. So training is actually pretty good.
Good.
Food at the moment is just on a maintenance phase. I'm not pushing the foods up, reason being because I'm not wanting to push and lift heavy whilst I get back into the bodybuilding. I just want to get back into a routine. I want my physique to essentially reverse out and everything balanced out as well. And then ultimately, I don't want to flare up any injuries that's potentially like 5% finish and then flare it up and it comes back full blown. So I'm taking my time with that and just really sort of focusing concentration on pumps. But no, it's good. It's good. So training is good. Not logging any numbers because again I want to have fun whilst do what I need to do. Said legs twice a week. Right shoulder was giving me so much aggro, so I actually wasn't able to press. And just a bit of a pull session, but again nothing strenuous. There's no hip hinging going on with deadlifts or anything like that. No heavy RDLs. It's just more kind of getting back into anterior and posteriorly with the legs. That's the main focus, is getting my legs back up. But yeah, no, it's good. It's okay, but it's nowhere near as heavy as it was the top end of off season back end of last off season last year. So
which is, listen, it is what it is, isn't it? Me and you and anyone who's over here watching this, following who follows you and has followed you for a while. Bro, what you've got a battle with, like, it's long, man. Like, I got a bad knee in that, but not really. Like, it flares up when I take the piss. Like, I be putting stupid weight on squats and that, hack squats. And it's like, if I do that over and over and over and over and over and over and over again, eventually I get sore. And rather than listen and I never believed in deload weeks. I just used to train. And then the first deload week I took was last year when I was training for like 12 straight weeks, 14 straight weeks. And you was like, when's the last time you like backed off the gym? Because I kept moaning about not being able to hit 240 on deadlifts for more than, I think the best I got was 6 or 7. 6. Let's say 6, because I don't want to steal a rep that I didn't get. But let's say 6, yeah? I couldn't get more than 6. And I tried it week after week after week for about 4 straight weeks, and I could not get it. And the best I've ever got on that, that's a funny story. Sorry to digress. I checked my phone. I checked my phone camera. My photos on my phone, yeah? Because I bought the iPhone 12 a while back. I didn't transfer any photos over. I kept a lot of my old files on that because I wanted to, obviously this phone has way better quality than what I had before. So I was like, I'm not going to fill it up with all that stuff. I'll just do new shit on here. So I've looked at my old thing. I didn't get 240 for 8. I never got 240 for 8. I thought I got 240 for 8, and I kept telling myself, Gene, you've had 240 for 8 before. I've got 230 for 8, and I've got 240 for like 5 or 6 before. Yeah. And the most I've ever got is 6 reps. So I was trying that anyway. I was trying that week after week, and I was not getting 8. And I was like, what is going on with me? And I just remember you saying, like, gee, man, take a deload. Like, you're hitting these fucking heavy numbers all the time. Your body is aching. You're constantly telling me how much you're aching and that, and you're tired. And I was struggling, but I was like, I didn't understand the science behind the deload. Really, I thought deloads were more for injuries, not injury management, not like preventive
fatigue management.
Yes, and fatigue management. I thought it was just more if I'm injured. Or say I got a niggle, let's just take that week off on everything, let my body come back, and then go again. But really, it's to mitigate risk of even getting to that point where you have.
You're right. It is trying not to cross the line of fatigue. Then you start regressing. So you kind of have to time it as well. Now, there is so much. Sorry, I'll let you finish. I'll let you speak.
No. I was basically done. I was just gonna say, like, after doing the deload, I realized how big of an impact that had on my progression then for the next 4 to 6 weeks. Like, I decided, because I got to a point, you touched on logbook, and I don't want to get into the whole logbook conversation because these logbook conversations can last fucking forever. I don't like logbooks and I choose not to do them.
Do you know what? It's probably about 60% of people who do. Probably more people
I,
don't log.
I love the idea and I get it. And for people who thrive from it, and that's their nagging voice in the back of their head in the gym to push that little bit more. Like, by all means, do your thing. I'm very
maybe if you was logging, maybe you wouldn't be killing yourself for weeks on thinking that you've got 240
you're right. You're right. And that's what I mean. There's definitely a trade-off because during prep I logged. Obviously, your
oh yeah, 100
on prep is logging.
I was about to say that, I was about to say when we prep, you actually log everything. So I'm looking at your numbers, obviously the sessions that we can't train. I'm looking at your numbers and then seeing what, and then I'm like,
yes,
this is very good. Either or. That's more so for me.
Yes,
But no, you do log during prep. But I know that
I log heavily during prep. And I will admit there are weeks where I'm like, right, I needed to know that I need to beat that because that's what's going to give me that extra motivation and drive to get it.
Yes, 100%.
During off season, when everything just moves, and then you get to a point. Like I was in 7 plates on a hack squat. If I didn't stack that shit out, I would have kept pushing till 10. I would have kept going until I got that. And the fact that like my knee is burst, and I'm like, bro, I need to just relax. And I just think my recent approach, I say recent, last off season, I'm still on off season. Last year's off season approach was very much maximize rest, not rest periods within training. Maximize your rest outside of the gym. Make sure my sleep was on point, which for all of last year it was, and I think it paid so many dividends. It's unreal. Recently with work and that, it's been mad, but generally speaking, my sleep's been way better than it ever has. And just lift heavy consistently, but manipulate intensifiers and volume and structure in your set in a way to manipulate for like intensity. That is more important to me and what I am at in my training at the moment than coming in every week and thinking once top set, back off set, I need to get this weight. Because I swap between now. So like yesterday, I messaged you. I did deadlifts. I was so happy. I was so happy, bro. I was off training for 10 days.
Wow.
Ill as fuck. Yeah. So I trained with Alex. I banged Smith squats. I was happy with that because that was my first time ever banging them heavy. I knew beforehand that I could probably do it because we've done them before, obviously, and I was fairly comfortable with them. It's definitely...
Was it safety bar squats?
Safety bar squat. It wasn't.
You said Smith squats.
Oh, sorry. Safety bar squats I was doing. Sorry, not Smith squats. Safety bar squats, and I got a decent weight and for decent reps, decent depth.
220.
I was buzzing. 220. I was buzzing. 220 for 10. Good depth. I was buzzing. And I remember, like, I was like, this is like, because I've been on and off ill and traveling with work, going to Amsterdam and this and that, flying here, flying there. And I'm like, listen, this will be the session that kicks off my week now. And I'm going to get back to it like I've always been on it, like I was on it all last year. And when I say get back to it, I've been training, but it's been so... Sometimes I'm training.
Life obstacles, of course.
Yeah,
you've got season, and you know that you're not competing this year. It's kind of easier to kind of push things around and change it around.
Yes,
because obviously you've mentioned before. You clearly mentioned that when you're competing, and then again when you're off thing, then you have that that flexibility more. But still getting the training in as well. It makes sense. It's like me. If I planned on competing, for example, this year or whatever, I'll be back doing do you know what I mean? I'll be back training injured and just doing what I have to do as I did for the last 3 years. But yeah, no, it makes me don't need to explain. I understand.
But yeah, bro, I went in yesterday. I was like, right, I didn't want to go because although I've still got the cough a little bit, and I'm like, I'm still fatigued. I'm still carrying the fatigue you get from being having a cold. But I was like, bro, it's been 10 days. just go in. You don't have to do a compound. Just go and do heavy isolation work because that doesn't stress your entire body out as much.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, just go in, do some heavy isolations, get a good sweat on, and leave. Yeah. Next week we can get back to the hard and heavy. Yeah. So I've gone in. I do my 10 minutes on the treadmill, and how Pure Gym is set up because I trained at Pure Gym. How Pure Gym is set
That
up.
one looks alright, man. That equipment looks alright.
It's good, man. It's good that it's good there. It's a little bit smaller than some of the other ones, but it
Yeah.
isn't as busy, for example, as Basingstoke Road. So it's a trade-off because there's some days I walk into that one and you just want to leave. There's too many
Yeah.
people. But then most days, I will admit, and as the week goes on, it dies out. So generally speaking, the worst day is legs. That's why I tend to train legs at studio. But yeah, I got there and I'm on the treadmill and I'm facing the squat racks. They got two power racks, whatever. And I'm just walking. And every couple of minutes, I'm looking over and I'm like, I have to deadlift. And I said to myself, I was on this treadmill and I said to myself, I goes, if it's empty when I hop off this treadmill, I'm gonna deadlift. If it's not empty, then that's God telling me, not today. You got nothing to prove, not today. I said, all right, cool. 9 minutes, 28 seconds, something like that. I'm walking, no one's on it. And then a guy walks over and takes one of them, and there's one more free. Bro, I stopped that shit early and run off. I was like, no, 100% I'm deadlifting. 100% I'm deadlifting. I decided I'm deadlifting. Run over there. I deadlift. I start warming up. Work my way up and that. I can feel I'm a little bit breathless, and I'm like, the strength is there, but my energy is gonna dip after. Like I already knew. I was like, I'm not gonna sustain it like I usually would. I just know, but I'm willing to fucking die on these deadlifts and and then move on.
Yeah.
And I've been doing 230 for 8 because my training's been so broken. I'll do it.
You hitting 8? Oh, 230 for 8 rather than 240.
230 for 8. Sorry, yeah, 230 for 8. I've done that like 4 times in like 3 months because they're so broken up, and I'm like, I can't get a consistent run at these. So I'm like, fuck it, Gene. Sorry for the language. I try not to swear, but whatever. I was like, just attack it like you've hit this last week. Just attack it. You've had 10 days off. As far as you're concerned, that's rest. Yeah, just
fresh.
That's yeah, you're fresh. Just rip that up. And you know how I am. I don't really hype myself up in an angry way. I'm more calm and I'm
getting his own.
When that first one went up, Opio, I was like, 10. 100% 10. Bruv, I sped through the first 7 probably. And then 2 more, it was hard. And then 10 was like, it was just willpower. It was, you said you were going to do 10, do 10. And you know, I don't like to hinge either. I don't like to hinge like, what do they call it? It's hinging it up, isn't it? People call it. When you hitching, sorry. Yeah, I don't like to hitch it up. So that last one, I was fucking shaking and trying to get this up, and I got it up, and I was so happy. Everything I hit after that was a chore. Everything.
Everything. You know what it is? It's because when you done your big movement and you surprise yourself, it's very easy to be like, right, session's done, boy.
Session's done. And I'm out here whacking plates on like I would usually hit plates. And I'm trying to do these high rows and 3.5 plates per side. I'm like, I think I got 5. The best I got, usually I get like 8. I was like, yeah, that's not moving. Did a quick drop set, moved on. I just went once round and then did my thing. But yeah, man, sorry, I asked you about training, and I was just thinking to myself, even my training, obviously I'm healthy in that, but my training has just not been flipping good recently. But every so often I'll do something and I'm like, Gene, man, you're not bad, you know, like you can lift, you get me? Like my training's been a little bit up and down, but yeah, it's getting back on track now anyway. And I just think from time to time with work and that, like I said, you already know what it is I'm dealing with and that. It's not the end of the world. You find a way in it. Like I patterned a nice gym in Amsterdam anyway. They don't do day passes, innit? And the first couple of times I went there, the guy just let me in for free. He was like, "You lift?" I was like, "Yeah, I'm a bodybuilder." He's like, "Who do you bodybuild with?" I told him BMBF, and he was like, "Oh yeah, I know them." And I was like, "Yeah, I'm a pro for them." And he was like, "Oh okay." He's like, "Yeah, just come in." I went in there a few times for free and
A
that.
hard work status is paying off
I'm
now, boy.
telling you, boy, I'm gonna start dropping names more often. And
Listen,
then
you should.
he was like, how often are you gonna be here? I said it's not often enough to get a membership. And then they just sorted me out a day pass. They said they don't usually do it, but if you say him and his boss, him and his manager,
Yeah,
this one woman,
yeah.
he was like, as long as you ask for us or you say that we said you can pay whatever, then you can just come in there on a day pass. So yeah, it was good. It was good. It's good. But
Okay, yeah, no, that's good. That's good. So at least when you do fly over there, you've actually got a bodybuilding
yeah,
gym
it's a
environment.
nice
So
gym, man.
yeah,
It's a
no,
nice,
that's good.
it's a nice.
Half the battle is finding a gym and a decent gym as well. Because I've got clients traveling and they're like, dude, like send me a video of the hotel gym or wherever they're staying for
Mm.
work, and I'm just like, eh,
Yeah,
so
yeah.
my tactic for that is I let clients let me know if it's not sudden, give me a 2 weeks advance.
Yeah.
That way we can Google the area, we can Google Maps, we can check the local amenities, we can check gyms and stuff, etc. And then again, typically we just have to make some slight changes to the training program as well. But 10 out of 10 times it's fine.
Yeah. Yeah.
But that's good that you've got a gym not too far from obviously where you were based when you were over there as well. So
I just think there's a difference between like competitors and non-competitors. I think non-competitors, if you
mhm,
said to me, "Oh, I didn't really think about it, I just train in the hotel gym." As a
mhm,
coach, I'm sure it's a little bit frustrating because you're like, yeah, but there's a little bit
mhm.
of consideration that needs to go into that. But it's not the same as a competitor. If you're talking about standing on stage in your drawers, butt
Yeah,
naked and tanned up and oiled up, and you're telling me that you booked somewhere and didn't consider where you trained for a week,
yeah.
that to me is insane.
Yeah, do you know what it is? Like that's quite a good question as well, because like, well, a good point, because I actually have on my questionnaire like, if you got any booked holidays. I know it's not booked holidays, I know work can be like, yo,
Yeah.
excuse me, Mr. Debek, can you fly out for,
Yeah.
but like it's like that's one of the questions I ask. And when people are going away, if they disclose that they're going away during right in the prep season, that's fine. I'm not going to tell someone cancel your holiday before then. It's like when you come into season and it's like they didn't disclose it, and it's like, oh yeah, I'm going away then. It's just like that's gonna be, I think, yes, I think we had that on your first season.
Yep.
It was like 3 weeks. Oh, are you sure? Or something like that.
No, it was yes, sorry, my first show, yes. So
Yeah, your
we did
first
the UK
season.
DFBA first, and it
Yeah.
was 3 weeks away from my first ever show, which was the
Yeah.
qualifier for the final.
Yeah.
And I don't get me wrong, I had told you quite early on, like we had noticed, but I had
Yeah.
already booked it before hopping on with you.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah.
So yeah, we were meant to be going to Greece. Me and Deanna were meant to be going to Greece.
Yeah. And then when you told me about it, I was like, it's I can stick with the plan, or because I think initially you were saying, oh, just when eat too much, you track it and this, that, the other. And you
Yeah,
actually, be fair, you was like, where do we stand with that in prep? I goes, in all honesty, no chance, because it's so close to
yeah.
but and this is the athlete in you, it was a honeymoon as well. Sorry, not
No,
honeymoon,
not this one.
anniversary.
Yeah, it was something like that. It was something like that. Yeah.
Anniversary. And then again, you essentially you and that's what I like coaching you. Like, as I mean, as much as we are friends and we talk about bodybuilding, and you have likes in some bodybuilders and I have likes, and we can
Yeah.
conversate between the bodybuilders and stuff that we speak about, which 10 out of 10 times I'm right, and then you like, yeah, you're right. But when you are in prep, you're very understanding in terms of seeking my advice.
Yeah.
And again, you'd always say, like, you've been there and done it. And when client says, oh yeah, but I can track foods and do this and then do that. I mean, it's just kind of like, I personally wouldn't do it. I just wouldn't go.
Yeah.
But again, obviously, you guys come in for the first time and stuff, etc. And that's another part of being, as I said, if you're an honest coach but not taking a mick out your clients, you can do very well. If you're ethical and honest coach, you can do very well. Not to look like, yeah, you can go on holiday, just track it, and we do this, and in 3 weeks out of show. That's different. I would typically get clients to, if they can move it to like the post show break period, or essentially, you're gonna have to diet. You're going to have to diet. But you understand, you just take thing and you're just like, okay, cool. And you didn't fight about it. You didn't think, oh, maybe I should try this and try that and try this and try that. And then surprise, surprise, your first bloody season was
It was good.
wins and overalls and British titles. That's
Yeah.
you know what I mean? And that's the difference between, and I said that's athlete, can you? That's the difference between people wanted to think they understand prep and bodybuilding and then would want to go on holiday and then they come back and then expect the coach to save them. It's just like,
Yeah, it can't run. It can't run.
what do you expect your coach to like? He's just kind of like, I always said that I can't force you to do prep or not to do prep or go on holiday and not do it, but this is what I would recommend.
Yeah.
You go, should I go? I said, no, absolutely not. It's not going to be, especially 3 weeks out. And that's where I'm very firm with decisions based on my advice to clients as well. But yeah, I think that I don't even know how we got into this, but disclosing and when clients go away and talking about
training when traveling. Yeah. Training when
work
traveling.
and stuff. So yeah.
But yeah, nah, just so people know, innit? Because obviously me and you know, and I've said this before quite a lot, on my Instagram. Like, I cancelled, just so people are clear, I cancelled going to holiday with my wife. Wait, was she my wife at the time?
Yes. I was pretty sure it was your year anniversary.
Yes, it was 2019. You're right. Yes, because I got married in 2018. So,
it was
yeah. So, wait, did I get married in 2018? Yes, 21st of the 8th, 20. Yeah.
It was it was a big
18th,
one.
Sorry, 18th.
I'm pretty sure you said you told me because I'm pretty sure that you were thinking about booking somewhere, and you didn't book it. You thinking you said you thinking about going away, but then anyways, I don't want to. Anyways,
No, there was two. So I said to you, I was like, oh yeah, I'm planning on booking this at this time, and that was later in the year, a little bit later in the year. And you were like, nah, we got the finals and that, you can't go away. And I was like, yeah, but I could prep. And you're like, I wouldn't, because you're going to travel and then you got to worry about food and blah, blah, blah. And I said, cool, I won't book it. And then I said to you, I goes, I got Greece booked. I got a holiday booked. And you was like, when? And I was like, so-and-so, whenever.
Yeah.
And you was like, okay. And I think you literally said, okay. And I was like, that's going to be a problem.
Yeah.
So I spoke to Deanna and I said, listen.
This good.
I was shook. I sat down because you have to understand, like, although
it's a shock for everyone,
it's long, like,
especially the other half, like in prep and what you have to do. They're like, what? And they don't quite understand that you need to have these sacrifices for the the end process. And I think that's a difficult, especially first time competing as well. It's a shock to everyone.
That's what I was gonna say. It's not, if I said that 2021 and I'm like, listen, I'm trying to get my pro card, we got to cancel this, she'd have been like, all right, cool.
Yeah.
Fine.
Oh, did what you guys did, book everything after the show.
After the show.
Immediately after the show.
Exactly. But I'm like, I've just started this new sport as far as she's concerned. Like, she's like, when did you even start liking bodybuilding? Like, and I'm like, listen, like, coach says that I can't go there. She's like, can't you just eat clean when you're out there? I said, nah, because things will be cooked in oils and that, and they won't tell you what is or what isn't. And then we're in a resort, not a service apartment. Now, if I was in a service apartment, I could have easily just said to you, yeah, I'm in a service apartment, I would just buy my shit. And it probably would have been a slightly different conversation. But because I was in a resort and it's all buffet food, it doesn't matter what you do, you're not going to match the way you're going to cook your stuff at home. It just isn't going to happen. So anyway, to you lot who don't know, so I've sat with Deanna. I'm laughing because I remember how scared I was. Because me and you have had this conversation, and my only arguments were because I didn't want to tell Deanna no. If I was single and I had booked a holiday and you said you can't go, I'd have been like, fine. It would have just been that. But obviously I considered Deanna. So I'm like, Opio said that I can't go to Greece. He's like, what do you mean? I'm like, obviously we can't eat the food and blah, 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 blah. He's like, what, can't you just da da da? And I'm like, no, because you da 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 whatever, buffet, blah, blah, blah. And she's like, so what am I meant to do? Like, it's like 4 weeks away. Like, I'm like, it's fine, you can still go. I'll pay for someone else to go with you. And she's like, you're not serious. I'm like, yeah. I'm like, pick a friend.
Oh, wow.
Pick a friend and I'll pay for them to go with you. And it's fine. We'll just change we'll change my name. Because it was a while still, so we had time to change the documentation and that. And she was like, fine, I'll see if anyone wants to go. Obviously, one of her friends immediately was like, yes. she was like, how much you want? I'm like, nothing. I was like, just paid to change the documentation name, which was like 50 quid. So she's
Yeah,
like,
yeah,
cool.
yeah.
So I paid 50, she paid 50 quid to go to Greece.
Oh, yeah.
So anyway, they go to Greece. Obviously, I'm at yard that week doing my thing, training, eating, living life, whatever. Every day, my missus is calling me going, it's fucking shit here. And I'm like, what's wrong with it? She's like, the food's not good. There's nothing to do. It's just
Yeah,
like the
because she's
weather's
not
not
with
that
hubby.
good.
That's why.
She didn't even. Yeah, well, yeah, true. But she didn't. I don't think she liked it because I've asked her since. I'm like, should we go back to Greece? Should we go to Greece now? Considering I ain't been, and she's like, nah, I wouldn't go. She didn't even like it. So I would have potentially effed up my bodybuilding season to go somewhere that wasn't even good. And when I think about that year, both of my years that I've prepped, I can't believe I've only competed
2
seasons.
seasons.
Crazy, but
Boring now, isn't it?
yeah.
Boring now. Now you gotta do your pro. No, no one to chase. It's boring.
Both of the years I've prepped, so many things have happened, some
Mm,
good, some bad, that
mm.
they just make you think like, if you give yourself to the sport and you give yourself to the process 100% and you make the sacrifices you have to, this sounds really full on, considering that none of us are millionaires from competing in the natural game. But I just think if you have an attitude where you are truly competitive and you want to just be great at everything you do, I want to be great at everything I do. I want to be a great husband. I want to be a great dad. I want to be great at my 9 to 5. I want to be great at everything I do.
6 till 6. No, no,
My 6 till 6, my 12 hours. I want to be great. I want to be great at everything I do.
Of course, of
So,
course, of course.
so when you give yourself to the process 100%, and then you see that pay dividends, and then the next time you go on, you do the same thing again, it was a no-brainer. I'm not going to talk about what happened in 2021, but Opio knows not so nice
Yeah.
things happened in 2021, and it was tough. And most people would have said, I'm done.
What did they?
Bruv, I made my decision before it happened that no matter what happens during this prep, I'm getting on stage and I'm getting my pro card. I know it's happening because I've put in too much work. I've got the best coach in the UK.
Hey, this
Like,
guy.
what are you talking about? How could I not win?
Yeah,
That's how I thought.
yeah.
In the whole of prep. And then the minute you stand off that stage and you know it's all over, that's when all
Overwhelming.
like the real feelings pile. And
Yeah.
you're like, I was crying nonstop for 2 days, just overwhelmed.
Yeah. Do you know what? Because what you did go into like a militant kind of shell mood, like,
Yeah,
and obviously you're blocking out
yeah,
a lot of emotion, a lot of distraction from here and there, and just just keeping it for your wife. For you, a lot of it. Do you know what I mean?
yeah,
A lot of it. Even though, for me, your prep was very enjoyable to be with and to witness as well, like the transition. And a few weeks out, you started to, which is very normal, that you started to have that kind of that. Oh, things that just happen. It's just heavy. It's prep. I really can't do anything. It's prep. I mean, I'm 3 weeks out. Like, this is normal, yeah? And that's when I had to try and get in. And even that, like, you were, and it's weird. And this is what I said at the start of the podcast, was I anticipate a lot of stuff. I do anticipate when people will not, will, I don't want to say answer back, because it's not like a teacher and student thing. It's not like a yes, dad, yes, mom kind of thing. But it's going to be things when you deliver a message, and doesn't matter if you put cherry on top or you say it in the most aggressive way, a client will turn around, challenge and question what you're saying, and say in that time, whatever they're doing it, they're going to believe that we're wrong.
Yeah.
And I can remember that time when you was, and I would just basically had to speak to you as a friend. I was just like, bro, like,
belt squats.
Huh?
Belt squats. Is that what you're talking about in the gym?
Yeah, I just can't do this. Like, bro, do you know how hard this? And I just had to thing it, and I just
listen.
Like, to do this,
my head went. Oi, 36 weeks prepping. I'm dealing with so much shit, and of all the things that made my head go, it was you basically telling me that I wasn't working hard enough. That my head went. I was like, he don't know what he's what he doesn't know what I'm going through. It's like, he doesn't know what I'm going through.
Yeah.
Listen, you man, I've strapped up to a belt squat. Yeah, we've banged. We did safety bar, didn't we?
We did safety back. Is what I did was, what I wanted to do was take off the
back squats.
take off the pressure from your lower erectors from the back
Yeah.
squat. So we did anterior, so we focused more on your quads.
Yeah.
And then we did the back squat for lower posterior. So yeah, that's what we did. So I took off the barbell back squat.
Yeah, so we've done, and he didn't, because it was an ad hoc kind of session, because like he said, he had to change it to accommodate the phase I was at in my prep. It was really close to the show. I think it was really close. It was probably like my last leg session, I think.
It was like 2 weeks out, something like that.
Yeah. It was my last leg session. So we've banged Smith, and I'm like, cool.
Safety.
Safety. Sorry, I keep saying that. Safety. Usually we would be done. Usually we'd be done in terms of the heavy compounds. Everything else would usually just be really tough accessories. Bro, he's like, cool, we're gonna do these belt squats now. I'm like, what? He's like, yeah, we need to, you haven't done posterior properly, so we need to do posterior. I'm like, all right, cool. So I'm thinking, right, put a plate or maybe a plate and a half on, something like that, bang out some reps, get the burn, and then call it a day. This man puts 3 plates on there per side. He's like, yeah, belt squat that. This shit would not move. Bearing in mind, I've only ever belt squatted maybe before then, maybe once. And I've put this thing on my belt and I'm like, Opio, it's not moving, bro. Like, it's too much weight. And you're like, what are you talking about? It's too much weight. Like, your legs are stronger than anything else in your body. What are you talking about? And then he's had to put me straight, basically. He's just like, listen, we're here to fucking win, and you're out here bitching about fucking belt squats. Basically, long story short. And I was like, nah, you're right. I needed that. And the way I banged that set, I don't know what I was moaning for. I don't know what I was moaning for.
Like 12 or something like that. Yeah,
I banged bare.
Yeah.
He's like, keep going. I'm just repping. A minute ago it would move. And I'm repping at 12. So I just think, I just find it these things are funny because I broke like that in my first year as well. Obviously with the peak week. So like, there's always those things in prep. You can't escape it. I don't care if you prep for 12 weeks. There will be a time.
There is, and that's the anomaly I spoke about, like, in a prep, some things to look at and something just, I don't know what it is that one time in prep that day or the half a day is just kind of I don't want to hear it. Nothing's working. Like, I don't care if I don't do the show. Like, there's that one point where everything that you're just like the opposite end of the magnets, and it just clashes, and it's just crazy. I don't know what that is. I just think it's just going in that whole being in prep too deep. But we have to get in there to to get the condition. I very much enjoyed that prep. I was buzzing for you, man. That prep, that was,
I loved it after it was, I loved most of it while it was happening. Like, I was happy for most of it, but that
did very well.
Yeah, I feel like I did, but there's like you say, there's always that anomaly that just sneaks in. And in the moment, if I'm to explain it the best I can, you are a different person when your head goes. You are a different person. The same rationale you would typically use. Like, at that point in time, I forgot who Opio was. I forgot that he's the best coach in the UK. I forgot that he only wants the best for me. I forgot that we're boys outside of bodybuilding. I forgot all those things. As far as I was concerned, you're asking me to do something that I don't want to do, and you don't possibly know what you're talking about. How silly does that sound? My coach, who's guided me to success, and I'm telling him that because he's asked me to belt squat. It's crazy.
Yeah, do you know what? And I have it from like 9%, 90%, 9 or 10 times with clients, and I know it's a normal thing. I have to expect it. You know what I mean? I don't challenge it. I'm just like, okay, cool, that's fine. This is very normal, and this is where from coaching and having success with your science as well is, how you deliver how you deliver messages to your client from, week 1 in prep when everyone's face is round and belly is big and food is high, compared to, in the trenches of, 3 weeks out, and it just basically just feeling empty, hungry, tired, cold, pissed off, fatigue. It's relaying how you relay the message from, yes, do one more set, to saying, yes, do one more set in week 3. It's different. It's different. And these are all the things.
You're good at that, though. You're very, very, very good at that. Your approach to us as athletes is very, very good, especially for me, because I'm very I'm very open to listening, but
Mm-hmm.
if I'm in a bad mood, I'm very stubborn and I'm very strong-willed.
Mm-hmm.
And it's almost talking to a brick wall at certain times. But you're very, very good at reminding us as athletes that, first of all, you've been there. You're not talking from a point where the piece of paper says you need to do 10 reps, so you're doing 10 reps. It's
Mm-hmm.
more, I know that you think you can't do it because you're
Mm-hmm.
tired and
Yeah,
hungry. I know that you think you can't, but once the first one goes up, you'll understand that you can get the other nine.
mm-hmm.
And you start doing it, and you're like, oh shit, he was right.
Yeah,
And
but
because
that's
you're good at communicating it. You are good at communicating it. So you're obviously, you're a family man, obviously. You're not at a party and that kind of stuff. And neither am I. Most top tier bodybuilders aren't. Um, but you don't travel too much.
yeah.
Abroad or even within the UK to different gyms to train and that kind of stuff. I know you went to Ultraflex. That's
Yeah.
what's called Rotherham.
Ultraflex, yeah, more from
I
yeah.
definitely we need to link up there soon. I'm gonna shout you before obviously before my life changes. I'm gonna
Yeah.
shout you for a quick weekend and we'll shoot up there to train up there
Yeah,
because
any
I'm
weekend, man. Any weekend.
yeah, I'm gonna shout you. But what is obviously I see you see the IFBB pros and the top coaches like yourself who are self-employed, you're steady with work, you're overrun with work, you know your bills are paid. I know you're a family man, you got the family at home and that. What is it? Why do you not travel more? Is that something that you aspire to do? Is it because your business is technically, in terms of business as a grand scheme, it's still in its infancy? Is that something that you're just conscious of on a business perspective, or is that just not really how you are in terms of traveling and
No, no, no. That's a very good question. That's a good observation as well. So the reason being, one, I went self-employed in, as I say, well, registered my business I was self-employed to 26th of March, 4 years. In the
nice?
next 9 days, which is
Yeah,
crazy.
flipping out.
So obviously that self-employed, I don't care what anyone says, you're not going to have money starting up a business. You're going to have whatever savings you have left to pay the bills and still essentially support your family. So I was going through that period. Stuff was hard, man. Stuff was hard. So obviously you don't have
Yeah,
money to go on a holiday. At the time, little one she was about 18 months as well. So it's all is that, should we take her? She's, flying and all that kind of stuff. Then 7 months later, then COVID hit.
mm-hmm.
And then again, it was all that like, okay, I've just been self-employed. I cannot get a penny grant, even if I try to, because my business is not established to have a year's book or even 2 years books.
Yeah,
So everything I done during COVID, obviously you couldn't travel and stuff anyway,
no,
was to build my business. So majority of it was building my business to get into a financial position where everything is, I don't want to say autopilot, but everything is, the systems are in place. A nice waiting list, current clients, and everything is, and then from there, I'll be able to then again put aside, a couple pounds here and there to travel. So the majority of it is just basically starting up the business and then being in a being in a position where I can just fly up. Obviously, last year I competed, so for me going away was just like,
yeah,
no.
yeah,
And then the year before, that's when it was, they even moved your show as well in 21. So it was still kind of that restriction with, you can go here with this, you can fly to this country or do this.
yeah,
So you need passes and stuff. So I think the world was in a place where that wasn't really my focus at the moment. I just took the full opportunity to get my business to where it is now. And then, yeah, so this year, funny you say that, because again we've been looking at holidays over the last week or so, because I need a break as well, because I find myself sat here in my office corner doing all this programming, doing all this work, and I think I need to have a break, need to have a de-stress, because I've got a very busy competitive season with my clients this year.
yeah.
So I need to be fresh for them.
Mm-hmm.
So that's the only reason why I haven't been going away, because COVID just happened. There
Yeah,
was traveling restrictions, and then again, the year that I can travel, I competed. So again, essentially now this is a year where I will go away. But I love traveling. Like part of my my goal when I set my goals, my 3-5 year goals, back then was to put myself in the position where if I think, you know, I want to jump on a plane tomorrow, I can do that now. And I'm in that position. So it's just a matter of finding the right place. Obviously, now the little one in school is trying to get that with school terms and stuff. But no, it's nothing stopping, man. Nothing stopping. So I should be going away hopefully in the Easter break. So next month. Yeah, next few weeks, but I just need to book something. We're just looking at where to go. Obviously, nowhere's really that hot unless you go to like Egypt or Mexico. I think we would just do one in like Spain, a few hours, see how the little one gets on the flight. I then get to de-stress, recharge, and then again come back for my competitive season as well. But no, I do very much love the traveling. Yeah, and I'm just gonna make it more of a thing, but it's hard to make it more of a thing when financially you're not in that position whilst developing your business. And again, I was at that process, but again, yeah, that's
I forgot I do always forget, to be fair. I forget that you started your business in a time that was really it was really volatile, obviously with the lockdown and that. I always forget that that's when you started. I feel like you've been coaching for like 15 years. Then I think about it and I'm like, you've just started and it's because you're already so successful. You've done so much already. You've got, how many pros you got on your roster now?
Oh, it's on my Instagram. It's on my spreadsheet, but I don't want to get a spreadsheet up. So yeah, so like I was doing coaching whilst I was working a 9 to 5.
Yeah.
Well, in my case, a bloody 6 till 6 because I was doing state agency, so that was a very, very much a busy period. So the company was I formally went self-employed. My last working day was the 26th of March 2019. And that's when I really started to push of coaching. I've got my level 2 and 3. I'm doing PTs. You're actually one of my first formal competitors. Obviously, I help like a few guys and Mike and Oggs and those, Cohen, those guys who's won titles, but I wasn't doing online coaching. I was obviously still, but now, six pro cards, 18 first place, 34 top 3, 6 overall, 5 British titles. And then the date I write the transformations was 175. That was the back end of November, so that needs to be updated based on my client transformation as well. So yeah, no, it's been very good, man. So I'll just basically focus on business.
In 4 years, that's a lot, man. That's a lot of like the money. I'm sure is good. Obviously, we got bills to pay, and we do what we do to get paid. But if you're lucky enough, like you, to be in a position where you enjoy what you're doing, surely in a it's a cheesy way, but I do think I'm a very spiritual person, generally speaking. I just feel as though the pride that you must get from being great at what you do is just as satisfying as the paycheck you get at the end of the month.
Do you know what the thing? Do you know what? Right, that is it's so weird because my processes in terms of my bookkeeping and stuff, I manually send invoices. I don't have to automate it of invoicing and stuff. And I will create an invoice and I'll be like, I'm pretty sure I've created that invoice like a few days ago and it's coming up again. I don't look at the financial side for a motivator. I look at the progression of a client and that internal feelings, which then amount to the financial side. Does that make sense? Yes, of course. Bookkeeping, I track the financial side, but I am more interested in with the client, making sure that transformation happened, making sure that that goal was hit. Once I can achieve that itself, it just helps with business. Your recommendations will be better, your word of mouth will be better, your client longevity will be better because they like the interaction and communication, they like the service which you're providing, they like the progression which is happening, they like, and once you're in that bubble when having fun with clients and check-ins, and time just goes. And for me, I don't have to think as much. Where I've been doing it for so long, something happens and I could just instantly know I'm supposed to what these are, just despite asking questions and then coming down to a conclusive answer and address it to the client, and then we move on. We win that week, then we're going to win again next week, then we're going to win again the other week. And that's pretty much what I do. And when clients have these wins and you're getting messages like randomly at like 1 o'clock in the morning, just saying like, do you know what? Thanks so much. Like you've actually saved my, like you've actually like changed my life. That's probably one of the most powerful thing you can get. Again, if you are an individual who like helping people and a very selfless person, when you get that, you just feel like a little bit like fulfillment is helping people, you know. And once you can do that with the good reputation, with the recommendations, with the everyone wants to work with you because you're a brand, people see what you're doing, people like how you carry yourself, of course financially that's going to pay its dividends. You know what I mean?
Yeah, of course.
So
I will touch on the changing the life thing. Like for me, not just winning bodybuilding shows in my first year, but the feeling of performing at such a high level and considering every aspect of a process. It doesn't matter what the process is.
yes,
What you teach is you do teach in your coaching. Whether people consciously realize it or not, I don't know. But I'm very observant, and I tend to, I'm very self-aware, and I've learned basically in not just in bodybuilding, but in life in general from being coached by you that if you analyze the small details that make a big difference, typically speaking, that's what's going to give you the edge over other people. Because in my first year, don't get me wrong, I'm genetically gifted. I'm not going to say I'm not, but I'm not the most genetically gifted bodybuilder that I even know. Sorry, my camera keeps going up.
It's fine. It's fine. I'm
not the most genetically gifted bodybuilder that I am even aware of. Yeah. That being said, I put so much effort and value into application and to how I apply the smallest detail. Little things I was thinking about in the car the other day. I was driving and something came up. I was listening to a different podcast, listen to Fuad Abiyad's podcast. One of them ones, yeah. And they were talking about prep and meal timings and that. And I remember I said to you, because you put on my plan, eat every 3 hours. I never asked you a question, but from the minute you put that, I was like, right, in my mind, that means to me, when I'm done with that meal, that's then 3 hours. But there are people who don't treat it like that. And I don't know how many people treat it like that and how many people don't. But if I'm eating oats in the morning, it could take me 45 minutes to eat oats. If it's the beginning of prep and you're giving me 200 grams of 180 grams of oats, because I was packing oats back then it's like I'm banging oats, yeah. It could take me 45 minutes to eat oats. Oats are my favorite meal. Even in the off season, I love oats, yeah. It could take me 45 minutes just because of the sheer volume and the way I choose to cook.
Oh, yeah.
Right. Whereas if I'm having my third sweet potato meal of a day, my third sweet potato meal is going to take me 10 minutes. So for me to say to myself, right, from my first spoonful, that starts my next 3 hours, to me just didn't make sense. Because I could be eating for 45 of that. And although it's easier for me to say that, because then I only have to wait 2 hours and 15 minutes, for me, I'm like, doesn't make sense to me because I'm still actively eating. So when I stop eating, that's when my 3 hours start. And I might just be suffering to suffer. Who knows? I don't know if there's any scientific backing to say any of that. But as far as I'm concerned, I believe that I'm going to be better if I wait my 3 hours and metabolize my food properly rather than trying to not be hungry. And again, I don't know how much facts there is to that. That's not what the point is. The point is, I think that it's better, so I do that. And I just think, like I said, to come back to my original point is, I've then taken that in everything in life. So I started leveling up in my 6 till 6 rapidly after my first year. I went back to work the day after winning my first British title. The day after, I got in my van at 6 a.m., drove all the way into center of London to do some fucking job. And I'm like, I'm in my van and I'm like, I'm sat here. Like, these people in these cars don't know who I am. I'm a British chap. Like, I'm sitting there, I'm like, you know who you're parked next to. And I'm sitting there and I'm like, Gene, what are you doing? Like, you've made sacrifices to get on a bodybuilding stage to show you're the best athlete in your respective division, but you're not going to apply yourself the same way in your 9 to 5 or being a husband or in the house you live in or anything else. How does that make sense? And
Yeah,
that day was when that switch flipped. And I was like, nah, everything I do now needs to be just as analytical. Everything I do needs to be, why are you doing that? And what is that going to gain you by doing that? If it's a waste of time, we're not doing it. And
yeah,
everything was like, and now, life is different now. Listen, life is good. Life
that's
is good
good. But
now.
and the thing is as well, like, do you know what I mean you again? You don't post that I mean, I know you obviously in person. You are a hard worker. You work hard, and this is kind of the same principle I had with going self-employed, because like I went self-employed where, like, my little one, she was not even a year yet. Mrs. was off work. Because they had a secure job. And it was just kind of like I took the leap of faith. I was thinking, right, you know what? If I applied myself,
Mhm.
my business, how I apply bodybuilding, right? There's no way I cannot make it. Like, there is no way. And it's a very much, as you said, like, it's an all universal. I said right at the start, the thing, like, asking a client if they're competitive or they've done any sport and stuff. It's all in here. It's all in here. If you can
Mhm.
apply and just learn how to transition in different aspects of your life, you can actually cream it. But again, it's a whole different conversation with believing and mindset and that self-arrogance where you need to tell yourself, if you're good enough and you are good, and wind yourself up to get the job done, because everyone ticks differently as well. But for me, I genuinely believe that I can, have a successful coaching business. And the competition does not stop there yet for me. Just because I'm off stage doesn't mean I'm not competitive.
Yeah.
I still want the best on my team.
Mhm.
And for as long as I am coaching, I want to continue to essentially grab all the hardest cards with my clients, as you
Mhm.
like. And that's where my passion is. I want my guys to go in there. Not a big group of us, 10 of us, grab all the titles, grab all the pro cards. That's me. And I'm competitive. And for me, it's not about, oh yeah, no, well done, mate. Like, for me, just like I want my guys to win. And then again, from a coaching perspective, all the coaches, who wouldn't want their clients to win and to be the absolute best as well. So even off stage, I treat coaching like bodybuilding.
Yeah.
Um and then again, obviously, I'm up more times than none, 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock in the morning programming. Again, they don't have, but they don't have to get the stuff then, but that's what I do. And it's treating it in that way and doing what I need to do, and not even just BS, and just get the work done. Look
Yeah.
after your clients, ensure that what you're telling them is factual, be ethical about it. And it would just all, clients can feel the enthusiasm of the coach. They can feel it. They can feel that, But as you said, if you can use that in whatever high level, you be a high level lawyer, football player, if you could transition that into any aspect in your life, there's no reason why you can't win and take it all. Because you said that you want it all, and I was thinking, why not, mate? Take it all.
Yeah.
Because if you don't take it, someone next door is going to take it all.
And why do they deserve it over me? They don't.
We've had these
So
conversations, man.
yeah,
Why
time and
should
time, time and
oh
time.
we've had these conversations. We've had these conversations. Oh yeah, prep is okay, cool, but you're prepping the same time long, just as some person digging deep as a. Why should they get it? Like,
Exactly.
get the
No.
bell squats in. They're
Yeah.
gonna be
Yeah.
smiling doing
Yeah.
it. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So
Listen, we're gonna wrap this up because we got so much more gems to talk about, but
oh my gosh, we've been
they're
on
gonna have
here
to tune into another
so
episode to hear that. Listen, I appreciate everybody watching. Please like, subscribe, comment. If there's any topics that you would like us to cover specifically, I'm gonna have Opio on again many times. We've got so much more stuff to talk about anyway, even if you don't have topics for us. But feel free, if there's questions for us that you wanna ask, and that, fire them through. We always wanna engage with whoever is willing to engage with us, so that's cool. Thank you, Opio, for coming on. I
No,
appreciate
thanks for having me,
time you've
man.
taken for that. Is there anything you want to say, promote, uh, anything before we go?
No, I think we just covered it at the start with the intro. Again, thanks for having me, man. I like what you're doing. As I said, like there are a lot of, you said there are a lot of podcasts and stuff out there as well. But again, it's just like, the more you get people to hear their different side of things. That's what, as you said, like, you watch podcasts for the guests and stuff. I think anyone does, but I think it's really good, man. Just gotta keep it up. Like anything else, just keep it nice and consistent.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, thanks for having me, man. So it's great catching up.
Thank you, ma'am. See you guys next time. Cheers.